or in any other situation. Valor, like that displayed by veterans of every branch of the military throughout our community. This radio show, Valor Radio, salutes all of you who have raised your right hands to volunteer to protect and preserve our unique American way of life. Thanks for joining us and your brothers and sisters in uniform. Welcome once again, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and coasties to Valor Radio, your weekly program right here on the WYSL stations, and the host with the most, Colonel Paul Ciminelli.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Unless you're listening in the afternoon, in which case we say, good afternoon.
Good day.
Being creative like that, like we are.
Australian, right? Good day.
Good day. Good day.
Good day. Yeah, so, all right, folks, well, it's another week, and we're going to have some fun today on the radio, but just a couple of news items before we jump into what we're going to be talking primarily about today. And one of the things, it's an interesting thing, you know, folks that have served have spent sometimes countless hours doing shelf checks. You know what a shelf check is, Bob?
I have no clue, but I think I'm about to find out.
You know what a shelf check is, Justin?
What do you mean by inventory?
Well, I'm talking about in the PX.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, when a soldier, or sailor, or Marine gets bored, they got to run over to the PX and do a shelf check. You know, just see if there's anything that's changed. And you know, when you're over in Bagram or Kandahar or someplace else, the PX isn't very big to start with, and so every once in a while they'd get something different in on those limited shelves, and you know, the word would get around quickly that they had something that might be appealing, so you'd have to drop what you were doing and go do a quick shelf check at the PX. Now,
were you going to introduce us, by the way, to your guest?
I'm going to.
Just talk to him on the air.
I did talk to him on the air, and we're live also, but I was going to sort of hold off to the second thing, but I had to ask him. I had to get him right involved, and we
Justin,
have
welcome to WYS.
I know, this is not, I know, I violated radio protocol here.
Yeah.
But with us today is Justin Cogswell, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Operation Build-Up, and we're going to be talking about Operation Build-Up most of the show today, but I just did want to get a couple of things in here that...
So we're building up the fact that we're going to be talking about Operation Build-Up.
That's right. And
the big build-up to the build-up.
Right, and we're live on Facebook right now, and we've got a few people coming on already. Hi, Bill Dedes. How are you? Distinguished attorney here in Rochester. Thanks for listening in. So anyway, talking about the PXs. But I don't know if people miss, when I first went in the military back in the early 80s, 1981, you really got deals at the PX. First of all, there's no sales tax, which is a nice thing if you're buying a large item. But there used to be really good deals. And then they changed, these places had to pay for themselves. So it just wasn't they were going to subsidize you getting better prices. So all this stuff had to pay for itself. And then the Department of Defense let these contracts for Burger Kings on military bases. And all the profits from that, or a big chunk of the profits, go to support the morale support stuff, which includes the PX. So all these things had to become self-sustaining. Well, as the military is shrinking, you know, they need to keep a footprint where there are groups of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to try to keep so that they can get it, because there's certain places still where you don't have access to stuff other than, but now with online, the PXs are getting a lot of competition, and they were restricted to active duty or reservist or retirees. Now they've decided to change that, and anybody who is any honorably discharged veteran can be shopping. They're starting to open it up. They're opening it up to any honorably discharged veteran, along with all those other groups I said.
Does the tax-free thing apply to them too?
I believe so.
Wow.
So, and sometimes, it's tax-free and sometimes discounted pricing. When I first went in the military, one day a year they'd have a half-price sale. Anything in the PX you wanted to buy, half price. And it didn't matter if it already was on sale or anything else. And in fact, my parents bought me my graduation gift from college. I was at my officer basic course, and they bought me my big component stereo system that I had for 25 years after that, with the the 5-foot high speakers and the case with every possible thing in it. And I got that was already on sale, and then I ended up getting it for half price. And that was my parents' graduation gift for me from college. Ended up being so. Used to get really great deals. I don't know that you get great deals like that anymore, and pricing's become so competitive with online. But
so these things are they're basically like giant, like a Walmart kind
yes,
of thing.
they are. Exactly. And when you get to some of the larger bases, and it's very interesting, when you get to the larger bases, you'll see, and the Marines tend to have the nicest ones. Usually the Air Force. The Air Force usually has everything nicest when it comes to anything people stuff. But the Marines, like, you go in there and you'll find, high-end shoes, like Allen Edmonds shoes, or, very high-end clothing and other things like that, along with stuff that you would find at a Walmart or other things. So you have the full spectrum of pricing and other things, nice fixtures, appliances, other things like that. So, and one of the nice features about the PX, most of the stuff they'll deliver, if you order it online, they'll deliver it for free. So now anybody that served honorably, or was at least discharged honorably, will be able to access that again. One of the things, the other thing that us service members like is our access to the Class 6 store. Now, they don't talk about that, whether they're going to give that or not. That's the liquor store, primarily. And when you're out in the field and you got a message that Class 6 stuff was coming, it wasn't booze. It was like stuff that you didn't need but like to have type stuff. But now, I don't know if they're going to open up the Class 6 store, and they didn't mention the commissary either, which is the grocery store that they have on bases.
Uh-huh.
So, but at least the PX will be available, and that's going to be a great thing online for folks.
Where's the nearest one to here?
Well,
Probably
we actually
Fort
have.
Drum, maybe?
Well, that's the big one. There actually is a small one in Rochester, and unfortunately, when people go there to buy, what do they go there to buy? Cigarettes and booze, right? I mean, those are the two mainstays, unfortunately, of the local one. The veterans will go there to buy cigarettes and booze because it's a little bit better price than what you get it out on the regular economy. But there's a few other things you can, you might find some interest in there. But what are you going to do? But it's nice that they're opening it up to all veterans. I think it's just a competitive pressure they're feeling, and they want to keep the services available for soldiers. So one other thing I wanted to hit before our break, the Department of Veterans Affairs was probably 20 years ago was probably the leader in digitizing medical records. Everybody said that was the benchmark in the country for medical records. Well, of course, like many things, like the president was talking about with TSA and air traffic control, we have some of the most cutting-edge technology for 1985. And one of the recurring problems with the VA system, which was considered to be the best at one point, is it couldn't talk to the Department of Defense medical record system. So for years and years and years, they've been trying to put these patches together to try to get the two systems to talk to each other. And they spent a ridiculous amount of money because, of course, DOD liked their system and the VA liked their system. And finally, they've announced that they're going to do away with the VA system and they're going to use the same system that the Department of Defense is using, which just seems too simple. I don't know why it took 25 years for this to happen, or 20 years for this to happen, but...
well, the FAA, we may have air traffic control. ATC may go to private hands. And by the way, this was done in Canada 15 years ago with tremendous results.
Right, well, that's the thing. The DOD system is a commercial system. It's not... The VA system was unique. It was built for the VA, but it was when it was done, it was considered a cutting-edge system. Unfortunately, you can't rest on your laurels, we'll see. I'm hearing the music. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Justin Cogswell, and we're going to talk about Operation Build-Up.
WYSL 92.1 FM 1040 AM on the web at WYSL1040.com. You're listening to Valor Radio with Colonel Paul Ciminelli.
This is attorney Paul Ciminelli. At Ciminelli and Ciminelli, we understand the challenges facing small
You all set?
business in New York
Feeling
State.
good?
Okay.
Our attorneys can counsel and guide you in business formation, employment, and contract issues, non-compete agreements, compliance, and the complicated matters of succession when it's time to retire or sell. For effective, experienced, and efficient legal counsel for new or existing business, know that your future is our business. We're Ciminelli and Ciminelli. Call 235-0980 or visit Ciminelli.law.
Be interesting to see what surprises Comey has
Because your
today.
future is worth it.
I think it's
MGM
gonna be-
Associates Insurance. Home, condo, and auto, all the way to specialized policies for business, workers, limo and taxi insurance, and coverage for tech professionals like
I can probably come up with something better for you to mount that thing on.
Well, you've been telling me that for months.
Large enough to serve you, but small enough to
At my age, you have to remind me.
You know what's really good is magnets. You
Magnets?
look in the iodium magnet and glue it, and it actually sticks right to the back and race the drive. Put it on
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I use one in my car.
I had one of those in a rental car.
Yeah.
I had one mounted in the rental car, and there was nothing on my case, but my phone stuck to it. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of things that you can, there's like little devices you can get.
I know, but it's not in the budget. You know, the $597 to.
Yeah.
There's going to be some big changes in the next contract. That's all I'm saying.
All right, we're
Big
coming back.
changes.
We're coming back. Along with the Perrier, right?
Just getting started with your pistol permit.
Once again, Paul Ciminelli, Esquire.
Thanks, Robert. And once again, I want to welcome our guest today, Justin Cogswell, the CEO. That's a heck of a title for Operation Buildup. How you doing today, Justin?
I'm doing great, and actually, you know, that does feel pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when you're leading the pack of change and making a difference. It really just makes that much better.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about Operation Buildup, but before we can get there, we got to set the stage a little bit. Tell us. Obviously, this is a organization to support veterans, but tell us a little bit about you. You're a veteran.
Yeah, so I served with the Marines from 2001 to 2008. I joined after September 11th, and when I returned home, you know, this generation of veterans, not me specifically, but just veterans as a whole, are much different than past veterans. These are multi-deployment veterans. You know, a lot of guys are doing 2 tours, 3 tours, 4 tours plus, and what I realized after returning home is that the segmentation into civilian life wasn't quite as fluent or as easy as you would expect. You know, there's a time period when you return home where, you know, it might be difficult to get a job. A lot of people nowadays have college educations, and if you didn't take advantage of the GI Bill and you get out with a combat-related MOS, the segmentation of civilian life can be very difficult. And I think that's part of the larger problem with what we're seeing nowadays. We're seeing historical numbers that have really never been witnessed before. A lot of people say, hey, we have 22 veteran suicides per day. But the big picture is so much larger because those numbers have been realistic since 2001, over 150,000 veterans. If we compare that with the Vietnam War, that's more than double the amount of you know, military members lost in the whole entire Vietnam conflict. And unfortunately, it does not get the type of airtime in the media that you would hope that it would get because they're not combat deaths. So when you hear the numbers thrown around, I mean, it's such a large number. I mean, 150,000 people. Look at the whole entire Marine Corps is 300, 400,000 people. I mean, imagine if half of the Marine Corps were to
Disappeared overnight.
disappear.
Right.
Exactly. So, you know, when we look at these problems, as a veteran, I see a lot of different awareness groups, you know, raising awareness for the 22 veteran suicides per day, which is great. It's outstanding. But at the end of the day, what's it really doing to offer a change? So we looked at the issue and past experience that other people on our team have seen, as well as myself, and it seems like the same sequence of events always tend to occur prior to one of these catastrophic events with a veteran, and that is that what we're seeing today is 70% of the veterans that return home within the first year are witnessing a divorce. That's unheard of. You know, again, we'll look at past scenarios and past wars. And the one thing that always seemed to have stayed solid was that family structure, which really has broken down, whether or not it's through Facebook or whatever it might be, self-interests of people, that family unit, the church families, things of this nature are kind of changing in the society. And I think that's what's starting the snowball effect of issues. Veterans going through divorces or coming out into the civilian world and tripping and falling soon after coming home without any safety nets.
And we're seeing, and it's considered a positive in the military. There's a bit of structure, as we all know.
Exactly.
And if you go in as a young person, young man, young woman, and spend 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you get you develop the discipline and the other things to survive in that structure. When all of a sudden it's pulled out from under you, you just see a tremendous number of folks that then have to go through a growing up period, almost like a second growing up period. Here's someone who's gone to war, come back, survived, but now they're out in a world where there is no structure. And some people would say, well, that's great to have my freedom back and other things, but that loss of structure sometimes leads to people sliding into destructive behaviors because of the toll that they suffered while they were serving, starts to have an effect on them. The support systems are gone. At the end of World War II, everybody got demobilized at the same time. Everybody, 15% of the population served, and over a period of 2 years, 98% of those people demobilized. So everybody was in the same boat. The support systems were in place. The veterans organizations were popping up. Now people are a little bit more, I won't say self-interested, but they're more insular and these organizations just, they don't seek out the VFW or the American Legion or some of those other organizations, and you find people feeling very much alone, and very quickly there can be a spiral where they need some help.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When you're in the military and you come home, you're used to that brotherhood, and I'm not being sexist because all men and women are in combat, but just the term brotherhood, where you look to your left and you look to your right, and you understand that these are people that you can count on. If something goes wrong, you know that they're going to have your six without a moment's hesitation. And when you return home, my best friend's in North Carolina, my other best friend's in Mississippi, one's in Virginia. We're all over the East Coast, from 2nd Marine Division. And if things go south for me here, I do have those people that I can still call and contact. But you really, that brotherhood is gone. It's not gone, but just that feeling of support is gone. But what a lot of the veterans don't realize is that there might be another gentleman 2 miles down the road from a different combat unit that had the same brotherhood with a different unit. And if we can just reconnect those veins and say, look, if you need help, I'll have your six because, I love you the same as I love the guys from my unit. So I think it's important to, bring back that camaraderie. And I think that's why what we're doing is making such a big impact, because when a veteran goes through a difficult time in their civilian lives, and what we do is we surprise struggling veterans with vehicles and complete home furnishings. We feel that, in the bush you've got water, food, shelter, but out in the civilian world you've got transportation. You need to make a house a home, just for your mentality. And those are like the two vital tools in order to survive. If you trip and fall and a group of veterans, purchase a vehicle, fix it, and surprise it with you, we always laugh because it's like the Care Bears from the 90s that had the rainbows on their chests, and you hit somebody with that ray of love, and it changes their mentality at a moment's notice, and all of a sudden they've got a second wind. They can't believe that somebody did this for them, and it changes their life. I mean, we've seen such huge progress with the veterans that we've assisted. In 3 weeks, 4 weeks, their lives are completely turned around, and it's such a small cost.
It is, and so let's start with basics. Operation Build Up, you just started it last year officially.
Yes, that's correct. That is correct.
And you've got yourself set up as an organization. You've been able to help some veterans, and I think you nailed it. From what I've observed about the organization, you're seeing people that are struggling, and it might be for something very practical, but that one little practical thing ends up spiraling into something much more significant. Their inability to get to work or to go to job interviews leads to them becoming homebound or housebound and depressed and otherwise, and it just starts that spiral. And something like an automobile, which today is almost considered a right, the ability to drive, or a necessity of life to do that, unless you live in a large urban setting like New York City, where public transportation does it. Something like a vehicle can set you free almost and give you hope about and reduce a limitation. So this started out for you, and you said with automobiles, and you've also done furnishings.
Yes.
So how does it happen? Tell us how it happens. We've got a few minutes left before the break, and we'll talk more afterwards too. But so how do you find out about people?
So we use Facebook, we use social media communities. One of the things about our veterans is their biggest strength is their pride in combat, but their biggest weakness at home can also be their pride, because if they get to the point in life where they need help, they'll never reach out. And if I were to go to a Marine or a soldier and say, hey, you need some help, I'm going to surprise you with a vehicle, their immediate response almost 100% of the time would be, no, there's somebody better than me that deserves it, and they'll start to, because they're selfless people. So we surprise them, and that's been the best approach for us, and they're very grateful when we do. But we use social media. We also use connections with the local veteran groups. People will reach out to us that know a veteran in their unit, and we target them and basically move forward from there.
So you've been able to, this is a pretty grassroots thing. I mean,
yes, it is.
You just decided to do this, and you started the organization on a whim almost, saying there's a need here. No one told you how to do it or what to do, and just filling that need. So what's it like to be a startup?
Well, yeah, so our start, when I came home from the Marines, I had a problem myself. The engine blew in our vehicle. I couldn't get to work, and we were evicted from our home, and I kind of bounced around. And that stuck with me. I slept on basement floors for months. And I remember the dark place that it put me in. And I think all veterans kind of go through it where, you start thinking, no one cares about us, this and that. You go through all the roles. Plus that fog of war can be a beast in your darkest moments. So one day I saw an ad on Craigslist, and it was another veteran, and the title said, just returned home from overseas, single father of 2 kids, engine blew, I need help right away. It was like an emergency type of posting on Craigslist. So I decided to click on it, fully understanding that there's a lot of things on there that aren't real.
Right.
There's a lot of different kinds of posts, people trying to get money for people. So I knew that as soon as I spoke to this veteran, within the first 30 seconds, I would understand whether or not he was real or if it was a fake scenario. But it just caught my attention because it was similar to what I had gone through. And I called this veteran and spoke with him, and instantaneously I knew that this was a real situation, that the wife and kids had stayed home while he was on base because they didn't want to live near base. And she had gotten hooked on these drugs that all these kids are doing nowadays. And it was a pretty bad situation, so he told her to leave. He was taking care of the children, and his vehicle broke down, and he needed help bad. So I told him, I'm not a mechanic by any means, which is actually really funny because we've delivered so many cars, but I'm just not. So I went and bought all the tools and things that I needed, and I bought a $400 car. I told him that I'd get back to him. I didn't tell him that I had purchased this vehicle. I had plans of reaching out to him when the vehicle was done, just to make sure I could even fix it. It needed a head gasket, which is a pretty intense type of job. So I worked on it for a week and a half, and I got a cell phone number from him. And when the vehicle was done, I was very excited. I was like, wow, I can't believe that I have fixed this. This is awesome. And I called him, and his phone number was disconnected. So I started thinking, you know what? I hope I can, get in touch with him. So I started emailing him. The first email was like, hey, great news. I've got a surprise for you. Please reach out to me, give me a call, or shoot me an email. When he didn't respond, we fast forward 3 or 4 weeks, my emails all of a sudden are like, look, here's a picture of the title. Here's the car. Please just come and get it. And I never heard back from that veteran, ever. So I started going through the guilt motions where maybe I should have done something different. Maybe I should have told him I got the car. And it stuck with me. And I said, you know what? This is more than just my scenario, his scenario. This is a larger picture. So I'm going to go ahead and start a nonprofit to help here.
All right, and I'm hearing the music, so we're going to take a break, and we come back more with Justin Cogswell about Operation Build Up.
Be sure to tell a buddy about the program and let us know if there's anything we can do to help here on Valor Radio on the WYSL stations. How many we got? The usual 6?
Pardon?
How many we got? The usual 6?
Yeah, usual. Good morning, Barb, Petra, Arlene.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get it up on my wall. I tried, but when I went to your wall, I just saw that you had shared our page.
Yeah.
I didn't see like a link for the live. I'm trying to get it back up here now. I didn't see the tag either.
And I also did a thing on our page saying you were going to be on with
Okay.
your name too. So you've got your security locked down pretty tight, so it's hard to get
Yeah,
you.
that's right.
And I understand why.
Oh man, yeah, it's there's been all kinds of crazy things that popped up there before I did that. So
Well, I'm saving this. Anybody need a warm up? Or...
Need some more coffee? Right?
yeah, I'd love another cup. Actually, we have some time. Do we have time?
Oh yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Hook it up. You know where it is?
Yeah. Thank you. I'll try and get this back up here. Want me to close this?
No.
Doesn't matter. Well, I feel bad for Ed Fiondoc. He probably was going, yes, I got fired!
Yeah, I know. You don't. You know, it's interesting with criminal law. You can't just walk away like that.
Right.
The court has to release you, and
Right.
so
And plus, you can't get fired by your client's sister.
no, hypothetically not. No, there's a scenario where I guess that could happen, but I don't imagine.
A
So
little far-fetched.
yeah. He's getting a lot of press out of this though. So
Yeah, it was turning pretty negative for a while there.
yeah.
People don't understand it.
It'll be interesting to see what Judge Coker does today.
The bail hearing.
The bail hearing. She's not a risk flight.
What about Thailand? Or wasn't that real?
Well, no, that whether it was or not, I mean, you know, he could put an ankle brace on, or
Given her history with devices, I'd imagine she'd figure a way to remove that.
that's a pretty tough thing to do.
Is it?
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
all set? You want a cup or?
No, I'm
yeah,
good.
I mean, I'll warm up a little bit.
You want to grab a free?
No,
Okay.
Have a seat, relax.
All
You did a
right.
good job.
Oh, thank you.
So worst case scenario, you can post it to your page.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to check it out and see what's going on. See if I got the tag here. Oh, okay. So it might come through. No, yes, I still don't have the tag. And then so if I go to yours.
Good girl.
Yeah, I don't see it live on
You're
yours
such a
either.
good girl.
Really?
That's right on the top.
Yeah. I don't.
I don't know if it was that.
I'm techno challenged.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. If you're ready, we will resume.
All right.
There's that. All right.
You're listening to Valor Radio on WYSL 92.1 FM and News Power 1040 AM.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we rejoin Valor Radio and your host, Paul Ciminelli.
Thanks, Robert. And we're here with Justin Cogswell, the founder of Operation Build Up. We're talking about the organization. So what led to you starting this was really maybe a disappointment or a sense of failure that someone that you had hoped someone you had connected with all of a sudden fell off the radar screen.
That's
And,
right.
And it's interesting what our motivations are. So now we've got this organization going. I've looked at your website in a lot of detail, and you said you're getting input from folks that see people that have needs. Do you get ahead of the curve? Like, do you have a car in waiting or household goods in waiting? Are you accepting those things in advance so that you can be prepared to react pretty quickly instead of a time lag that you experienced with your event before you started the organization?
Yeah, so things are progressing, things are changing. When we started this, we started out at my home garage, which is rather small. It's just your standard 2-car garage, and we're actually still working out of the garage. But recently, about 3 weeks ago, we signed a lease on an aircraft hangar on 5 and 20 in Bloomfield, near the 7-Eleven there. And I think it was actually the Bloomfield Airport at one point. It's way in the back, actually directly behind that 7-Eleven. But that's being refinished right now. We've poured concrete. We've got the walls going up. We've got insulation going in, electrical. That should be done within the next 3 weeks. We do have multiple vehicles on the ground right now. There's a lot of space there, including the landing strip that we can use for fundraising. So it's really a great opportunity and time for the company. Up until this point, as far as the furnishings are concerned, we've done it by a case-by-case basis just due to lack of storage. The vehicles have been the easiest for us to work on because of that lack of storage. When a vehicle's done, you can kind of just roll it out and it's out of the way and push a new one in. With the furnishings, everything has to be laid out, and we're sanding things, staining things, because we do refinish everything before we give it to the veterans to try and give it a new face, make old new again. And we utilize bank foreclosure cleanouts, local estate sale companies, donations, things of that nature to obtain the furniture.
Are you, in addition to furniture, are you taking appliances, washers, dryers?
Yeah. So as long as it isn't too difficult to fix if they're not
right.
working, we'll definitely take them. And once we move into the hangar, we'll be able to take advantage of more volunteers as well. So we'll be able to have multiple guys that can go and drop them off, and kind of delegate a little more and spread it thin. Whereas right now we have a very tight group of volunteers, since they do have to come on the house and on the property, and there's horses and dogs and family and all your normal environment there. We don't want too many people coming and going, but we're very excited to get into the hangar. We're about 2 to 3 weeks away. That's
fantastic.
Well, where do you get your volunteers from, Justin?
We post online. People see our mission and they reach out. It's really interesting to me because what I see is leadership characteristics become contagious, and I think that's also in a negative way. It can go positive and it can go negative depending on who your particular leader is. But especially within the veteran community, other veterans and patriots and deep-rooted Americans that are proud of their military, they really want to get involved and they make a difference. So finding volunteers has really not been an issue for us whatsoever. People are more than happy to come and help with our mission.
That's great. So you're still in your infancy. You don't know what the future is going to hold, and really, are you getting requests on a pretty regular basis now? Are you seeing that, or people still don't know? I mean, obviously we're trying to give you as much exposure as we can here, and you've had a couple articles in the newspaper, some
Yep.
TV, some news reporters coming out and following some of the missions you've been on. So have you seen the volume building of calls or other things that you've been receiving?
Absolutely, yeah. We're really starting to pick up steam with our recent coverage here, and any of the community-based events that are larger events, they've invited us out. They said, hey, why don't you guys come be a part of this, and maybe we can put something together to surprise a veteran and use this as a bit of a podium. So the area has really stood behind us on this. We are growing. I think the most difficult thing for us at this point is the fact that, in a nonprofit, there really isn't a revenue model. So, trying to grow the business without having any type of set revenue is tough. Donations kind of come in as a wave when we get a certain type of coverage, and then they might fall off. We might not have any come in for 3 or 4 weeks. So it's trying to find that balance and putting the right team in place that has the right skill sets. When I started this, I I'm okay at everything.
Right.
I'm spread so thin. I'm only okay at everything. So we're trying to find people that are good in the individual aspects and put them in to help us grow.
That's great. I did take a look at your team, your board of directors, and other than being a little Marine Corps heavy,
Yeah, a little bit, and that's it's these are Marines that I know that I've worked with in the past. For example, Maxwell and I did recruiting duty together back in, I believe it was 03 or 04 out of the Win Jefferson Plaza, so I'm familiar with his work ethic. Alec Andrus is tied in with the VOC here, which is amazing. They're front row for a lot of veterans that are experiencing difficulties. And Ryan O'Connor is with the House of Representatives. He's also big in Ohio, as far as the military community is concerned. And our goal here is to expand it on a national level. And the reason why is because there's veterans all across the country that are experiencing these same problems. And the faster we can get in the cases and say, look, this is an emergency case, because we do read them, and since we are funding a lot of it out of our pocket at this point in time, we go where we can get the biggest bang for our buck. What veterans are in the red zone, like who really needs this right now. So we review the cases and find out what's going on, also their character and what occurred to put them where they are, and then as soon as we agree on it, we're ready to go. We act. We fix the vehicle, get it running, clean it up. Sometimes we'll paint it or get the furnishings, and then it's just beeline right towards the delivery and the surprise.
well, I would tell you, I bridge 2 generations of veterans. I'm a little bit older than you.
Yes.
And I'm a bit younger than the largest group of veterans that we have out there right now, which are the Vietnam veterans. And what I guess if I was going to give you any sage advice, which you probably are tired of hearing from people, is you've got all those organizations out there, American Legion,
Yep.
VFW, Vietnam veterans, which are very strong in this community, that have put hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars back into this community over the years. With some of the things they've done, maybe there's your chance to link some of the old with the new.
And that's exactly a very good point, and that's what we're trying to do. And I'm actually happy that you brought that up, because what we also see in the military community, as far as the nonprofits are concerned, is a bit of a military segregation. So you have Vietnam veterans, where they have the Vietnam-based nonprofits that cater primarily to their generation of veterans. Then you have, could be female veterans that cater to female veterans, female veteran groups to female veterans, or African American veterans to African American veterans. There's all these different cliques and cliches, post 9/11 veterans. But, at the end of the day, we're really breaking down the barrier, because to us, we're all the same. We helped a Vietnam veteran with a vehicle. We surprised him a few weeks ago, and he just couldn't even believe it that a young group of veterans had surprised him with a vehicle. We've done a female veteran, so we have no requirements. It's not 6'2" plus or post 9/11 or whatever. We'll help any veteran. It doesn't matter if it's a Korean War veteran. And I think we really need to unite our veterans and bring them back, because if some of the younger guys can learn from some of the older guys, and if that gap isn't bridged, then that knowledge will never be passed on.
That's correct. And so just www.operationbuildup.com. Operationbuildup.com. Take a look at it, or on Facebook, Operation Build Up, to get an idea about this young and positive organization. And we'll be back right after this break.
On Valor Radio, WISL 92.1 FM, 1040 AM. Tell a buddy about the program, and thanks for listening.
Hey, good morning, Peter. Are you back from Florida yet?
Ciminelli. Ciminelli and Ciminelli. We
It's time to get back here. We got some work to do. If you are, let me know.
family members,
Bob Seil from Washington, thanks for listening in this morning. Appreciate it.
So is it short, or do we come back?
No, we got one more section and we're done.
Perfect.
settlement control.
Excellent.
For
And,
experienced legal counsel,
yeah,
on
Vietnam
wills,
veterans
trusts, and
are
estates,
actually
our practice
a great
is your solution.
group here.
For Ciminelli
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Ciminelli, call 235-0980.
Remind me to mention something to you when we're done about that, okay?
Because your
So-
Yeah, and I'd also like
MGM
to,
Associates Insurance.
I'd like to, you know, if you want to touch a little bit more on the VFWs and American Legions, because there's a big, you know, there's a gap. You know, the younger veterans aren't walking in the door,
Right.
and there's reasons why. And you know, I think it's important to talk about it because, and you know, a lot of the older generation veterans might get their feathers ruffled, but at the end of the day, that's what brings change. You know, you can't lead unless you're willing to follow and listen. And I know where the younger veterans are coming from as far as their standpoint on.
No, it's a struggle. It is a struggle. All the
But for us, it's
organizations
important
are
because the lobbying, you know, the lobbying for veterans and everything else all comes from the power of these groups.
right.
And
It's
if
how
we
many
lose
members
that-
they have. That's right.
and
If
if
you don't
we
get
lose
an,
that, we're
right,
in
you don't get
trouble.
an audience with the congressman or the senator unless I represent, you know, 200,000 people or 300,000 or 500,000 people, and so.
Exactly right.
Do it right. Get done smart. Learn firearms basics or add to your
We should get him to tell a little story about what
what
reactions he gets, like a little
Okay.
case history.
Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
how many
Kinda
minutes
bring
left
it.
in this last
You'll have
segment?
about
Valor Radio.
15 minutes.
On WYSL 92.1 FM and 1040 AM.
We're back with Paul Ciminelli on Valor Radio.
Thanks, Robert, and we're here with Justin Cogswell, founder of Operation Build Up. Justin, let's talk about. Let's do a case history because I guess that's
Yes.
the best way for people to understand. You've mentioned a couple of folks, but give us, you know, in the few minutes we have left, give us a scenario of what's happened and how you were able to. Your organization's been able to make a difference.
Yeah, so when we first started this mission, it was never our concept to take pictures of the veterans or a video. We just did it quietly and posted without posting their names. But we didn't get any following, so we realized, look, we have to get the community behind us. They have to see what we're doing. So the first public delivery that we did was Joey, who was a 7-tour Army Ranger, a young veteran. He'd done 4 tours in Iraq, 3 tours in Afghanistan. And things had gone south for him rather quickly after getting home. He'd gone through a big breakup and ended up in an empty house. His vehicle had broken down, and he found it very hard for him to get to work. He could actually only get rides to work at night, so a friend was dropping him off in the woods near the job site, and he was running out into the woods and sleeping in a bivy sack a quarter mile from the job site, and then folding it up in the morning, putting it in a tree trunk and running down to meet the guys to go and labor for the day for, you know, a $9 or $10 an hour job. And he was doing this in the winter. So he was waking up with inches of snow on his bivy sack in the morning, but he was steadfast in his mission and wanted to succeed. He ended up missing a day and lost his job. And he told his boss, "Look, this is what I've been doing." The boss said, "I don't care. You know, you're fired. You missed a day." So he started drinking, and he couldn't pay his bills. And he was given 5 days. Well, he had 5 days left to leave his apartment when we got his case. And we always surprise him, so we got his case, and I said, "Hey, we'll give you a few $100 if you can come be a guest speaker at one of our events. Here's the address and time." He said, "I'm in." I went and picked him up and actually brought him there because he couldn't get there. And, you know, he's in the corner practicing his lines, talking about his service. When the fire chief walks in and says, "Hey, whose car is that parked out front?" Well, the whole Operation Build-Up team, everybody with a shirt on, turns around and points to Joey. And his jaw just hit the floor. I mean, he said a few choice words that were bleeped out, you know, some along the lines of "I don't have a car," and laughed. And when he realized we were serious, he was like, he just couldn't even believe it. We brought him out there and showed him his car. So now we fast forward 3 or 4 weeks in his life. We talked to him 3 or 4 weeks later, and he's got a new job. He's now making $25 an hour because he can travel to go and get a higher paying job. He also had a girlfriend. He's got a new apartment full of furniture. He's doing motivational videos for veterans. And this is a true American hero. This is someone that's done 7 combat tours of special operations. And, you know, you look at him in his pictures just from a couple years ago. He's a staff sergeant. You know, he's got pictures out there, you know, in combat. This is a guy that, should come home and be raised up by society, but that's just not the world that we're living in. His life has progressed so much. He actually just left. He was a surprise event when we surprised the female veteran at the concert over the weekend. He was a surprise. He was a surprise appearance. He showed up in Operation Build-Up shirt. He's on his way out to Nevada. He got a job working on a 65,000 acre bison ranch, chasing bison around on a horse and shooting critters that you know. And he's excited. He's so excited about life and everything that's going on. And it's really such a small gesture. That particular car only cost us to fix maybe $400 out of pocket, $450 out of pocket, which is really amazing to change somebody's life for such a small amount of money is really significant. So it's just been an amazing thing to watch across the board. And there's very little in life. You know, when I developed a good income with my other business, I bought a muscle car and you know, spent money. I just didn't get any emotional stimulation for anything that I was doing. And as soon as I started doing this, it's like, you know what? I would rather go and help out 10 or 15 veterans than buy something else, a boat or whatever. And because it puts me on cloud 9 for 3 or 4 weeks, and it makes me feel like I'm still in the game. I'm still helping. I'm still being a positive force.
That's wonderful. This is great. On your website, you have a phone number. Obviously, it's operationbuildup.com. You have a phone number on your website. What do you? Obviously, I know you're going to say you need. Tell us what you need. What are your biggest needs to get you from where you are right now to your next stage for the organization?
Well, that's a tough question because there's just so much, and it's really just about everything would be the correct answer. I mean, everything from you know, bringing in the right volunteers and putting them in the right places for us to be able to grow seamlessly would be most important. People and their knowledge are always the most important to you know, any force. So I would take knowledge over just about anything. But secondary would be you know, would be tools. You know, the lift that we're using is an entry level lift. It actually half pulled out of the ground that we're working in. So when we put it up, we put jack stands under it so in case it falls off. You know, just as far as safety is concerned, tools for sure. I think either the squirrels are taking our sockets or we're leaving them in the hoods of cars. I'm not sure, but you know, so yeah, basic materials to get the jobs done. Anything that has to do with fabricating or tools. You know, things of that nature. We also develop in the hangar. We've got carpet esco and flooring that we're going to try and figure out. So yeah, just getting us set up.
All right. So do you need money?
Yeah. So
Go ahead if you need. Say it.
Yeah. You know, we do. And here's the other reason why is because of the way that we're set up. We've applied for hundreds of private grants from local companies as well as state and federal grants, and we're declined for all of them. And I think the two major inhibitors are how young we are, because they usually want to see a business that's 2 or 3 years old because of
Correct.
the high risk of failure. But the secondary flaw is the number of veterans that we help per year. One of the main questions is always, how many veterans do you help per year? And the true answer at our pace right now is we're going to help 30 to 35 veterans with cars this year and 15 roughly with complete home furnishing. So it's not a huge number. If we were to give 250,000 veterans a sandwich, we could say we helped 250,000 veterans, but did it really impact their life? So our mission is to make an impact, but unfortunately it kind of cancels us out as far as the grants are concerned. So really hoping that the community can get behind us and help us rise to the level we need to be self-sustainable.
Well, what I'm going to recommend to people, if you can't get directly involved, go to their website and donate. It's a very simple process, and one of the options on your website is to do a recurring donation. You said one of the big things whenever you start a business is cash flow. Now you've got rent to pay every month. That's going to require an amount of income, a recurring amount of income. So folks, even if you can give $10 a month or $20 a month to this young organization, give it a year and follow them and see what they're doing. And you know what? If they save 1, 2, or 3 veterans from suicide in the next year, and you never know the negative. Right? You know that if they help 35 people or 40 people and they're still alive next year, they're not going to be coming out and claiming that they saved them from doing something dramatic to hurt themselves. But this is really at grassroots level, and they're changing the world one veteran at a time. And veterans, what can we say? This has been a tough 15 years for the young veterans. We see that many of the highest number of suicides are coming from the Vietnam era vets, and their openness and willingness to work with veterans from any era that they find in need. So I'm telling you, once do a donation, do a recurring donation, $10 a month, $20 a month, and follow the organization. And you know what? If Justin, if he loses your confidence in a year, then you can change. But give it some time. Give him a chance to get this new facility set up and really start having an effect. And who knows? We might be seeing a chapter of this organization someplace else in the country before we know it. But it's done one person at a time, and we can't do it without your help. So Valor Radio is in on this. We're behind what they're trying to do. We know that when we see individual lives changed, there's no substitute for that.
Absolutely. And right now we serve all of New York State. So if you know a veteran that's going through a difficult time, it could be anywhere in New York State, send us their story, please. There's a need help tab and a contact us tab. Go ahead and send us their story. Tell us about their service and the issues that they're encountering.
471-3451, 471-3451. Give these folks a call, give Justin and his folks a call, and see what you can do to help them out and make a difference one veteran at a time. I'm hearing the music. I guess that means we have a wrap. Justin,
Thank you all
thanks so much. Yeah, thanks for coming in, and appreciate you coming up in this early hour. And anything we can do for you here at Valor Radio, you just keep us on your list, okay?
I appreciate it. It's been an honor. Thank you very much.